The truth doesn't care about your feelings. It's not here to comfort you. It's here to destroy your illusions. Chosen ones, listen up. You've stepped into the light and now the shadows tremble. The ones who thought they could manipulate your mind, play their games, and twist your reality, they are drowning in their own deception. Every trick, every falsehood they've woven is coming undone right before their eyes. They thought you were a pawn, just another victim to be controlled, but they were wrong. You are the storm they never saw coming, and now they are nothing but fragile glass in the hands of a giant. You've shattered their illusions, and they can't handle it. Their world is crumbling, and they don't know how to stop it. To the ones who've tried to gaslight you, to play their petty mind games, you've underestimated the power of the chosen. You can fool some people sometimes, but you can't fool all the people all the time. That's the truth they've been avoiding. They thought they could make you doubt yourself. They thought they could keep you trapped in their lies. But now you see through them, and their power is fading faster than a fading shadow at sunrise. They are exposed, vulnerable, and terrified of what comes next. And here's the thing, manipulators only have power as long as you let them. Their entire existence is based on your ignorance, your hesitation, but you caught on. You woke up, and that is their worst nightmare. The game is over, and they weren't prepared for the fallout. You don't need to raise your voice to win this battle. Just stand tall and let the truth do the talking. The universe itself has aligned with your power, and now your enemies are fighting a losing battle against something they can't defeat. They try to keep you in a box, to twist your reality with their lies. But you, chosen ones, are not bound by their limitations. You are the fire that burns through their webs of deceit, and they are nothing but ashes in your wake. The more you rise, the more they wither. They built their world on sand, and as soon as the tide of your awareness hit it, everything started to fall apart. They are scrambling, watching the pieces of their power slip through their fingers like water. Their manipulation is no match for your clarity. Their tricks are useless against your strength. You've exposed them for what they truly are, cowards hiding behind falsehoods. And now, they're desperate, scrambling for any way to regain control. But it's too late. The moment you saw through them, their reign was over. Here's the reality. The manipulators are like wolves dressed in sheep's clothing, trying to lull you into submission with sweet lies and promises. But the chosen ones, you see them for what they are, wolves with no teeth. They have no real power over you. They only thrive when you doubt your worth, when you question your path. But you've learned the secret. Self-doubt is their weapon, but self-belief is your armor. You are the sword that cuts through their illusions. You are the hurricane that obliterates their false sense of control. And every step you take towards your truth, they lose a little more of their grip. So let them tremble. Let them panic. Because the chosen ones have arrived, and the world will never be the same. The universe has already decided, and no matter how much they fight, they can't stop what's coming. Their lies will crumble, their tricks will fail, and you will stand victorious, knowing that you are unstoppable. So, hold your head high, chosen ones, because the real power is yours, and there's nothing they can do about it. Now, let's get to the real truth. The manipulators are losing their grip, but there's more to uncover, more layers to peel back. If you're ready to dive deep, if you're ready to stand tall in your power, then this is your moment. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's show the universe that the chosen ones are united. Drop the number 77 in the comments if you're prepared to see the truth to the very end and claim your rightful place. Trust me, if you're truly one of the chosen, you'll feel the pull to stay with us through this. It's time to break it all down, step by step, and believe me, the best is yet to come. Let's get started. Number 1. The moment you see through their lies, they lose everything. Your silence was their greatest weapon. Your awakening is their downfall. Listen up, chosen ones. This is your moment. What they feared most wasn't you fighting back. It wasn't you calling them out. What they feared more than anything is that you would see through their mask, And that's exactly what's happening now. You've stepped into your power, and it's terrifying them because they can no longer hide behind their lies. They've lived their whole existence in the shadows, manipulating, twisting, and controlling. But now, the truth is starting to shine through, and they can't stand it. They're desperate because you've exposed the core of who they are. And there's nothing more dangerous than an enemy who knows their cover is blown. They don't fear confrontation. They don't fear the consequences of their actions. What they truly fear, the thing that shakes them to their core, is exposure. The second their facade cracks and the truth is laid bare for the world to see, their power vanishes. Think about it. Real power doesn't come from dominance or control. It comes from illusion. It comes from making you believe they are something they're not. Their entire existence relies on this false image they've carefully crafted over time. But once you see them for what they are, a hollow shell with no real substance, they crumble faster than a house of cards in the wind. The minute you catch on, you become their worst nightmare. Not because you're fighting them head-on, but because you're no longer under their spell. Their whole world is built on shadows and whispers. They operate in secrecy, twisting narratives, distorting facts, and rewriting history to make sure no one dares to question their version of events. They count on the silence, on people staying ignorant and confused. But once you start piecing together the truth, once you recognize the patterns, everything they've worked for falls apart. The power they once held over you is gone. You are now dangerous to them, not because you're attacking, but because you're immune to their manipulation. You're no longer buying into their lies. And when they see that, when they realize the game is up, they'll try to shift the narrative. The sudden outbursts, the accusations, the desperate attempts to turn others against you, it's all just a panic response. They can't control your perception anymore, and without that, they're nothing. They'll try to discredit you, play the victim, twist the story so it looks like you've wronged them. But here's the reality. Deep down, they know the truth. You've pulled back the curtain, and now they're standing there, exposed and vulnerable. And there's nothing more terrifying to them than being seen for who they really are. The power they thought they held is slipping away, and there's no way to stop it. They weren't ready for this. They didn't expect you to wake up. And now that you have, they're scrambling, falling apart under the weight of their own deception. You've broken the spell. You've torn down their walls. And the more you stand firm, the more you show them you're not backing down, the more they panic. Because when the truth comes out, it doesn't just set them free. It destroys them. Every lie they've told, every manipulation they've orchestrated, crumbles in the light of your awareness. The truth doesn't make them stronger. It obliterates them, piece by piece. So hold your ground. You're not just a survivor in this battle. You're a force they can't control. And as they try to scramble and fight back, just remember this. The second you saw through them, their reign was over. Their power never came from strength. It came from deception. And now that you've shattered that illusion, they have nothing left to hold on to. Stay strong, stay vigilant, because the truth is your weapon and it's more powerful than anything they could ever throw at you. Number 2, their rage is just fear in disguise. Fear is not the absence of courage. It is the loudest scream of the truth they cannot face. Chosen ones, let's get this straight. When they rage at you, when they lash out, it's not because of anything you've done. It's not because you've wronged them. No, it's because you've done the one thing they never expected. You've exposed them. You've pierced through the walls they've spent their entire lives building. They're angry, yes, but that anger isn't power. It's panic. It's the fear that you figured them out. The fear that their carefully crafted control is slipping through their fingers. You've shaken them to their core because you've seen them for what they are. A shell. A facade built on manipulation and deceit. They're not angry with you. They're angry with themselves. They're furious because the illusion they've been projecting is crumbling, and they don't know how to stop it. They've spent years perfecting the art of control using tactics like gaslighting, emotional manipulation, and lies to bend others to their will. And now, the one thing they feared the most has come true. You're no longer fooled. You've stripped away their mask, and now they are exposed. And when they are exposed, all they have left is fear. But here's the thing. Manipulators are masters at deflecting their fear. They won't show it directly. No, they'll flip the script. They'll accuse you of being the problem, make you feel like you're the one who's wrong. If they can make you believe you're the source of the conflict, they don't have to face the fact that their power is dissolving. They'll shout insults at you, cut you off with cold silence, throw guilt trips your way, anything to destabilize you. But deep down, it's not about control anymore. It's about desperation. They can feel the ground beneath them cracking, and all they can do is lash out, hoping you'll back down, hoping you'll second-guess yourself. But you won't. You've already seen the truth. And when you see that truth, when you realize their rage is just a mask for their fear, everything changes. Suddenly, they don't look powerful anymore. They don't look intimidating. No, they look exactly like what they are, scared. The irony? That's the thing they've been trying to hide all along. They were never as strong as they pretended to be. They were never in control. They were just convincing. And now, that facade is slipping, and they have nothing left to hold on to. The truth is, they are terrified of losing what they think they have. They're terrified of being seen for what they really are, vulnerable, weak, and desperate. But here's the part that will hit them the hardest. The moment you recognize their fear, you take away their power. The moment you stop reacting to their outbursts and start seeing them as what they truly are, cowards hiding behind rage, you stop being their victim. You stop being under their control. And when you do that, when you stop playing their game, they start to crumble. They don't want you to see the cracks. They want to keep you in a constant state of uncertainty, to keep you questioning yourself, your decisions, your worth. But now you see them for who they really are. A bunch of scared little people using anger as a shield to hide their terror. And once you recognize that, you've already won. The power is yours now, chosen ones. They've lost their grip and they know it. So, keep your head high. Don't back down. Their fear is their weakness. And as long as you stand tall and stay grounded in your truth, they will keep losing. You are no longer a target. You are the one who holds the power, and that's something they'll never be able to take from you. Keep exposing their lies. Keep standing in your strength, because every time you do, their fear grows and their control weakens. And nothing terrifies them more than that. Number 3. They never had power. You just gave it to them. Power is not something they take from you. It's something you hand over piece by piece until you realize what's left is nothing but empty air. Chosen ones, listen carefully. They never had power over you, not once. You were never under their control, not in the way they want you to believe. What they had wasn't real power. It was an illusion. The trick they played on you wasn't physical force. It wasn't intimidation. It was your belief that they held all the cards. You gave them permission. You allowed them to control your mind, your thoughts, your confidence, and that's where they thrived, because they didn't need to dominate you with fists or threats. All they needed was for you to think they were in charge. They needed you to second-guess yourself, to doubt your instincts, to feel like you were nothing without their approval. Now, think about it. How did they get their way? Did they threaten you with power? No. Did they force you into submission? Not at all. Their weapon was far more dangerous. It was subtle. Manipulation, guilt, gaslighting, these were their tools. They planted seeds of doubt in your mind, made you question your worth, your instincts, your very reality. They convinced you that their version of the truth was the only one that mattered. They made you feel like you needed their validation, their permission, their stamp of approval to move forward in life. As long as you played along, they had the illusion of power. They controlled the game, and you were the one unknowingly letting them pull the strings. But here's the moment they never saw coming. You woke up. You realized that they weren't stronger than you. They weren't smarter. They weren't more capable, and they certainly weren't above you in any way. The only thing that kept them in power was your belief that they were. You gave them permission. You handed over your strength, and when you stopped believing in their illusion, their power shattered. Now they are scrambling, struggling to regain control. But it's too late. Their control was never real. It was borrowed, and now that you've taken it back, they're powerless. Here's the truth, chosen ones. The moment you stop believing their lies, stop buying into their act, they lose everything. All the power they pretended to have crumbles. The mask falls off, and what you're left with is a fragile, scared little person who has nothing but their empty words. They can shout, they can threaten, they can try to manipulate you into falling back in line, but none of it works anymore because they're not powerful. They were never powerful. They were convincing, and once you stop buying the lie, they lose their grip on you. And when that happens, they become exactly what they've always been, nothing more than ordinary, weak, and afraid. They depended on your uncertainty, your doubt. They needed you to question your worth so they could feel important, feel in control. But now they are exposed for what they truly are, frauds. Their power was a house of cards built on your belief. Without that belief, they have nothing. You've taken back the permission you unknowingly gave them, and now they're scrambling to regain it. But it's over. They can't manipulate you anymore. They can't control your thoughts, your decisions, your path, because you've realized the truth. They never had power over you. You were just letting them play the game, believing they had the upper hand. And the moment you stopped believing, the game was up. This is why they're so upset. It's not just that they've lost control over you, it's that they've been exposed. They've been unmasked, and their whole foundation is crumbling. They don't know how to function without the illusion of power. They don't know how to move without the strings they used to pull. And that's why they're angry. That's why they lash out. It's not about you. It's about them realizing that they are nothing without your belief in their power. They've been exposed for the weak, insecure manipulators they truly are. And now they have no choice but to face the truth. So stand tall, chosen ones. You've taken back your power, and nothing they do can change that. Their tricks are useless against you now. They are just ordinary people with ordinary flaws. And as long as you see through the illusion, they'll never have control over you again. Your strength lies in knowing the truth, that they were never as powerful as they made you believe. And now that you see that, you have all the power. Number 4, their game is confusion. Once you see through it, they lose everything. Confusion is the weapon of the weak. Clarity is the weapon of the strong. Chosen ones, let's break this down. The manipulators, the controllers, the ones who thrive off your doubt. They don't control you with strength or power. No, their game is much more insidious than that. They control you through confusion. Their weapon, their shield, their very foundation is built on making you second-guess yourself, twisting your perception, and keeping you in a constant state of uncertainty. It's the chaos they create that keeps you dependent. They don't need to physically force you into submission. All they need is to confuse your mind just enough to have you questioning everything you thought you knew. One moment, they'll act like they care. They'll shower you with affection, make you feel like you're their number one priority. The next, they'll freeze you out, acting cold, distant, and detached. They'll tell you one thing, then turn around and swear they never said it. They rewrite history, manipulate situations, and twist your words until everything feels like a fog of contradictions. And if you dare to call them out on it, they'll gaslight you, turning your own reality against you until you start doubting your own sanity. This isn't some random mess. It's a deliberate strategy. Chaos is their foundation, and as long as they keep you lost in it, they control the game. You've felt it, haven't you? The dizzying cycle of confusion where nothing makes sense, where everything you thought was true suddenly feels like a mirage. It's maddening. They make you question your memory, your judgment, your very sense of self. But understand this confusion isn't just a byproduct of their actions. It's the entire goal. They want to keep you off balance, always searching for answers, always wondering what's real and what's not. And as long as you're in that state of doubt, they remain the puppet master, pulling all the strings behind the scenes. But here's the breakthrough, chosen ones. The moment you gain clarity, the moment you stop living in their fog of lies, the spell is broken. The minute you start paying attention to the inconsistencies in their behavior, the contradictions in their words, and the patterns they've tried so hard to hide, you've already won. The power shifts in an instant, and that's when they panic. That's when the real fear sets in, because when you see through their illusions, when you begin questioning their every move, they lose everything. Why? Because manipulators aren't built for truth. They're built for deception. They've woven a web of lies so tangled, they've convinced themselves it's reality. But the moment you start stepping outside of that fog, the moment you refuse to accept the chaos they've created, their entire foundation begins to crumble. They can't survive in the light. They can't operate when you see the cracks in their armor. And that's why they panic when you start thinking for yourself. They know that once you start recognizing their patterns and calling out their inconsistencies, their carefully constructed illusion falls apart. And they have nothing left to cling to. The reality is, their whole existence depends on your confusion. Without it, they're nothing. Without the tangled web of lies, without the emotional roller coaster they've designed to keep you hooked, they lose all control. They rely on your uncertainty, to keep you trapped, to keep you questioning everything. But once you stop playing by their rules, once you break free from the fog they've created, they have no power over you. They fear nothing more than clarity. It's like a spotlight shining on a cockroach. They can't stand it. They are terrified of the truth because it exposes them for what they really are. Weak, scared, and desperate. They need the confusion to survive. Without it, they're exposed and the world can see them for who they really are. Just another manipulator trying to stay one step ahead by keeping others in the dark. So, chosen ones, keep your eyes wide open. Don't let them pull you back into their fog of confusion. Every time you recognize their contradictions, every time you call out their lies, you strip away their power. They're not built to handle the truth, and once you see through their game, you hold all the power. Stay focused. Keep questioning. Keep recognizing the patterns. Because the moment you stop doubting yourself and start trusting your judgment, their entire world crumbles. And when it does, they'll have no choice but to watch as you rise. You're not just surviving their game, you're destroying it. Every time you see through their lies, you're taking back control, and they know it. And that, chosen ones, is what terrifies them the most. So, stand tall, stay sharp. Because once you gain clarity, they're already finished. Number 5. They built their lies so high, now they're trapped at the top. An endless lie becomes truth only to those who are desperate enough to believe it. Chosen ones, it's time to expose the greatest trick they've ever pulled themselves. What if I told you that they didn't just lie to you? No, they lied to themselves first. And that's the most dangerous kind of lie there is. They didn't just spin stories to deceive you. They've spun so many stories, twisted so much reality, that they've started to believe their own nonsense. They've spent years shaping narratives, bending the truth to their will, and rewriting history in ways that suit their desires. They became so addicted to the power of their own fabrications that they lost sight of what's real. And now they are trapped in their own web of lies, drowning in a fiction they can't escape. This wasn't always the plan. At first, it was intentional. They manipulated events, controlled conversations, shifted blame, avoided accountability, all with the goal of staying in control. They twisted their reality to keep others confused, to hide their true intentions, and to maintain their grip over your mind. But somewhere along the way, something went terribly wrong. They started believing it, the fake victimhood, the exaggerated betrayals, the idea that they were the innocent ones, always misunderstood and wronged. They repeated these lies so often that they became their truth. Their mind, so desperate to hold on to power, started to rewrite history, blurring the lines between what was real and what they wanted to be real. But here's where it all falls apart for them. You stopped playing along. You refused to be a part of their fantasy. You refused to nod in agreement, to accept the narrative they tried to force on you. You held up a mirror, forcing them to see the truth they've spent their lives running from. And that's when they unraveled. That's when the cracks in their armor started showing. They never expected you to call them out. They thought they could keep you in their world of lies, wrapped in confusion and doubt. But now, they've lost their grip on you and they're terrified. Here's the truth they can't face. When you stopped validating their lies, you exposed the core of their weakness. They don't have the power they once did. The very thing that gave them control, the belief that they could manipulate your reality, is slipping through their fingers. And what do when they realize they can't maintain the illusion anymore? They double down. They become more defensive, more aggressive, more entrenched in the false reality they've built. Why? Because admitting they were lying means admitting they've been the villain all along. And for them, that's not an option. They can't face the truth of who they really are, so they'll fight to the bitter end to keep the lie alive. But here's the thing. No matter how hard they try to hold on, the truth is always stronger. They may try to scream louder, twist the story further, and make you doubt yourself. But the cracks in their narrative are too big to ignore. Every time they get defensive, every time they turn up the heat, they're only proving how much they've lost control. Their anger is just another mask. Beneath that mask, fear. Fear of being exposed, fear of losing everything they've built on lies. And you, chosen ones, have the power to watch it all crumble. They built their world on lies, thinking it was unshakable. But now that you've stopped playing along, you've triggered the collapse. The more they cling to their false narrative, the more they expose their true nature. The more they deny the truth, the more they paint themselves as the villain they've always been. They can't run from their own lies forever, and the deeper they dig, the more desperate they become. This is where your power lies. Chosen ones. Their strength was never in truth. It was never in honesty. It was in the lies they spun, the stories they told to manipulate your perception of reality. And once you see through it, once you stop supporting their fiction, their world starts to fall apart. You are no longer a player in their game. You are the one who's exposed them. The moment you held that mirror up to them, you broke the illusion, and now they can't hide. The more they cling to their false story, the more they show the world who they really are. Their lies are their chains, and the harder they fight to keep them, the more they bind themselves. They've lied to everyone, including themselves, and now they're trapped in a prison of their own making. So, don't back down, chosen ones. Keep your gaze steady, your truth unwavering. Every time they try to gaslight you, every time they double down on their lies, remember this. They're already trapped. The more they lie, the more they expose themselves. And when the truth finally comes crashing down on them, there will be nothing left to hold them up. Number 6. The real battle was never about you. It was always about their ego. An ego is like a fire. When it's fed, it grows. When it's ignored, it dies. Chosen ones, here's a hard truth. Everything they did wasn't about you. Not your love, not your loyalty, not your friendship. You weren't a person to them. You were a mirror. A reflection that fed their insatiable ego. They didn't care about you. They cared about how you made them feel. Every word they said, every action they took, every carefully calculated move had one purpose: to inflate their fragile sense of self. You weren't their equal. You were a tool to make them feel powerful, superior, untouchable. As long as you played your part, they could pretend they were invincible. But the moment you stepped out of that role, the truth hit them harder than a freight train. See, the real game was never about you. It was about their ego. They were never in it for a real connection, never in it for genuine love. They were in it for one thing only, to prove their worth, to show everyone, including themselves, that they were the smartest, the strongest, the one in control. They needed constant validation, and you were the key. Whether they wore the mask of the dominant one pulling the strings and making you chase, or the victim manipulating you with guilt and sympathy, the goal was the same. Win the game. Make you feel small. Make you question yourself. Make you react. But the moment you stopped playing that game, everything shifted. The moment you refused to chase, refused to be dragged into their drama, they were left staring at the one thing they'd been running from their entire life, the emptiness within themselves. They were never confident. They were never in control. Their entire existence revolved around keeping up the illusion of superiority. You were just a pawn in that twisted game, a reflection that made them feel like they mattered. But now that you've stepped away, they have nothing left to cling to. They were never fighting you. They were fighting the void inside themselves. They were battling their own insecurities, their own fears, and their own sense of worthlessness. And the moment you stopped feeding into that, when you stopped validating their illusions, their world began to collapse. They lash out. They try to drag you back in, but it's not about you. It's about them trying to convince themselves that they still matter, that they're still in control. They're desperate to get you to react, because in their twisted mind, your reaction means they still have power. But you're done. You see through it. And the moment you refuse to feed their ego, they break. What they never understood is that their whole identity was built on external validation. Their confidence wasn't real. It wasn't solid. It was fragile, built on a foundation of lies and manipulation. And now that you've removed yourself from the equation, they're exposed. They're standing in the mirror, staring at the hollow version of themselves they've been trying to hide from. The real fight was never with you. It was with their own insecurities, their own fear of being nothing. And now they have nowhere left to run. So, stay strong, chosen ones. Don't let their desperation pull you back into their game. The moment you stop playing, they lost. Because they were never fighting you. They were always fighting themselves. And when you stop feeding their ego, you become the final blow to their fragile sense of self. You've won, and they know it. Number 7. The moment you question the rules, they lose control. They created a script they thought you'd follow, but the moment you stepped off that path, their world crumbled. Chosen ones, this is where the game changes. They thought they had you figured out. They thought they could control you like a puppet on strings, guiding your every move, your every reaction. They counted on you to stay within the lines, to obey without question, to never challenge the reality they carefully constructed around you. Every word, every action they took was built on the assumption that you would be predictable, that you would never dare to think for yourself or question their so-called authority. But here's where it all went wrong. You woke up. They never saw it coming. The moment you started questioning the rules they set, their entire empire of manipulation started to crumble. You began to notice the cracks in their facade, the inconsistencies in their words, the contradictions in their actions. You saw the way they played both sides, how they used control disguised as kindness, authority masked as guidance. You realized that everything they told you was meant to trap you, not empower you. The rules they imposed weren't about fairness, they were about dominance. And the second you stopped obeying, their game fell apart. What did they do when you stopped playing along? They panicked. They tried to guilt trip you, but you didn't fall for it. They tried to provoke you, but you stayed unshaken. They tried to rewrite the narrative to paint you as the villain, but you stood firm, holding on to your truth. And with every move you made, with every time you refused to comply, their control slipped further from their grasp. You became a force they couldn't manipulate. You started rewriting your own story, and they had no power to stop you. This was their worst nightmare. They thought they had you conditioned to react, to be predictable, to fall in line. But now you're no longer their pawn. You're the one holding the pen, and that terrifies them. Every tactic they used, guilt, manipulation, emotional blackmail, was designed to keep you under their thumb, and without your compliance, without your emotional investment in their game, they have nothing. They've lost their grip. The game is over. They weren't prepared for this. They thought they controlled the rules, but the moment you started questioning those rules, everything they had built around you began to collapse. They thought they could keep you in a box defined by their terms, but you're not playing their game anymore. You've stepped outside the lines, and now they're scrambling to regain the power they've lost. So stay strong, chosen ones. You've cracked their code, you've exposed their tactics, and now you hold the key. Never forget that the moment you stopped playing their game, the moment you stopped following their script, you took back your power. Keep questioning the rules. Keep rewriting your own narrative, because as long as you do, they can never win. Number 8. Their worst nightmare, you thriving without them. They built a prison out of your dependency, but you've broken free, and that's their greatest fear. Chosen ones, this is it. The thing that keeps them up at night, the thing that rattles them to their core. You thriving without them. They spent years, maybe even decades, convincing you that you were nothing without them, that you needed their approval, their guidance, their presence to succeed. They wrapped themselves around your life like a leash, always pulling you back when you tried to take a step forward. They made sure you believed that without them, you'd be lost, you'd be nothing. But here's the truth they couldn't handle. You thrived without them. And that's what has them terrified. They never expected it. They never thought you could stand on your own, let alone soar higher than they ever allowed you to. They convinced themselves that they were the key to your success, that your identity was tied to them. They were your anchor, or so they thought, when in reality, they were just the weight holding you back. The moment you broke free from their grasp, everything changed. Their whole power was based on the lie that you couldn't survive without them. They thought you needed them to function, to be whole, to thrive. They expected you to fall apart, to spiral when they weren't around, to come crawling back to them when you realized you couldn't do it alone. But instead, you blossomed. You regained your confidence. You found your energy again. You found your own voice, your own purpose, and you didn't need them for any of it. And here's the thing they can't ignore. Your success isn't just about you. It's the proof that they were never as important as they made themselves out to be. It's the undeniable evidence that you were never dependent on them. You were only held down by their manipulation. You were the one carrying the weight, not them. They were just a roadblock, a chain wrapped around your potential. And now you've broken free. You're not just surviving, you're thriving, and they can't stand it. They'll try to downplay it. They'll tell themselves and anyone else who'll listen that it doesn't bother them. They'll act like your success doesn't matter. They'll pretend that you're faking it, that you're only pretending to be happy, pretending to be at peace. But deep down, they know the truth. They know that they've lost control over you, and that is the one thing they can't recover from. They've built their entire existence on the idea that they were irreplaceable. They made you believe they were essential to your growth, to your happiness, to your very existence. But now, all they see is the proof that they were never necessary. You don't need them. You never did. And that is what breaks them. That is what scares them. The fact that you are flourishing without them, without their approval, without their manipulation. They were the ones who kept you small, kept you chained to their narrative. But now that you've broken free, they don't know how to handle it. They can't control you anymore. And that, chosen ones, is the most powerful thing you can do to strike fear into their hearts. Keep thriving. Keep growing. Keep showing the world that your success wasn't because of them. It was despite them. You were always destined for greatness, and now the whole world can see it. So stand tall, chosen ones. Your victory is the loudest message you could send. No words needed, just your growth, your peace, your unstoppable rise. It speaks for itself. They wanted you to fail, they wanted you to come back, to depend on them. But instead, you've shown them the ultimate truth. You don't need them. You never did. Number 9, they can't stand you holding up the mirror. They fear the truth because the truth reflects back the broken pieces they refuse to see. Chosen ones. Here's the ugly truth they don't want you to know. They've spent their entire lives avoiding it. The truth about who they really are. Every lie they tell, every manipulation they weave, every twisted story they create is designed to protect them from facing the truth about themselves. They need to believe they're always in the right, always the victim, always justified. They live in a world where their flaws don't exist. And the moment you step into their reality and hold up the mirror, that's when everything falls apart. You don't need to say a word. You don't need to confront them. You don't need to expose them to others. Just by refusing to play their game, by setting boundaries, by standing firm in your truth, you make them face the one thing they fear most, themselves. And they can't stand it. They cannot stand being forced to see the reflection of their own lies and weaknesses. Why? Because deep down, they know the truth. They know they manipulate. They know they twist the narrative. They know they're using people to get what they want. But as long as no one challenges them, as long as no one dares to confront them, they can continue pretending. They can rewrite the story, shift the blame, and keep up the illusion that they're always the hero, always the one in control. But when you stop engaging, when you refuse to play their games, when you set your boundaries and say, no, the mirror is held up to them, and the reflection they see is not one of strength or righteousness. It's the reflection of a person who has built a whole life of lies and manipulation. This is why they laugh out. It's not about you. It's about the truth you reflect back to them. You don't have to call them out directly. You don't need to attack them. You don't need to expose their lies for the world to see. Your clarity is enough. Your ability to stand firm in who you are without falling into their traps exposes everything they've tried so hard to keep hidden. Your strength highlights their weakness. Your growth makes their stagnation glaringly obvious. You can't help but reflect their flaws, and they can't escape it, and it destroys them. They'll try to project everything onto you. They'll accuse you of being cruel, selfish, or delusional. They'll make it look like you're the problem, hoping that the blame will shift off of them. They'll manipulate you into questioning your own sanity just to avoid confronting the reality that they are the architects of their own misery. But here's the thing. No matter how many times they scream and shout, the mirror doesn't lie. The truth is right there, staring back at them. And there's nothing they can do to escape it. Their greatest weapon is their ability to manipulate others into seeing the world through their distorted lens. But once you stop playing their game, once you stop buying into their version of reality, they lose their grip on you. And that's when they lose everything. They can't stand being seen for what they are, so they'll do everything they can to avoid it. But the harder they try, the more desperate they become, the clearer it becomes to everyone, including themselves, that they are the ones who are broken. So, keep standing strong, chosen ones. Keep refusing to play their games. The mirror you hold up will expose their truth. They may try to run from it, they may try to twist it, but it doesn't matter. Because you are the truth they fear. And the more you live in your authenticity, the more they'll be forced to confront the lies they've built their entire world on. And when that happens, their power will slip away and they will be left with nothing but the cold, hard reality of who they've become. Number 10. Control was their drug, and you were their fix. Addiction doesn't care about love. It cares about what it can control. Chosen ones, they've been hooked on control like an addict with no off switch. They crave it, need it, and will do anything to keep the high going. It was never about love, respect, or genuine connection. It was always about domination. About bending you to their will, making you chase their approval, keeping you on that leash, so they could feel powerful. The moment you stopped feeding their need for control, the moment you cut them off, they entered a world of pain far worse than a broken heart. They went into withdrawal. This is no ordinary heartbreak, no simple rejection. This is addiction, and they are detoxing from it. They've spent so much time pulling you in, twisting your emotions, making you jump through hoops just to get a little piece of their attention. You were their fix, and now that you've broken free, they feel that void, the emptiness, the hollowness of losing the control they relied on to feel validated. They can't stand it. The grip they thought was permanent is slipping away, and they're not prepared for it. They're unraveling, panicking, desperate to get their fix back. Just like any addict, they built up a tolerance to their manipulations. They were used to getting what they wanted, bending the narrative to fit their needs. They made you beg for their approval, apologize when they were wrong, and chase after them like a puppet on a string. But now that you're gone, they're struggling. Every minute without you feels like withdrawal, anxiety, restlessness, and desperation creeping into every thought. They thought they could walk away whenever they wanted, leaving you stuck in their web. But now they're stuck, desperate for the next hit of control, and it's not coming. They'll try everything to pull you back in. Texts, calls, uninvited visits, even more extreme manipulations. You name it, they'll do it. But here's the thing. They're not doing it because they want you back in their life. They're doing it because they want control. They need to feel like they've got you again, that their power hasn't disappeared. But the more you resist, the harder they fall. You are their detox, and they can't handle it. Every time you stay firm, every time you don't bite, every time you refuse to re-engage, they spiral even further. They thought they could break you down, make you beg, make you lose yourself in their web. But now, they're the ones losing control. They're watching you pull away, and with every step you take towards freedom, they get weaker. They thought they could maintain the high forever, that they could keep you hooked to their strings, but nothing they do will bring it back. They're fighting a battle they can't win. They're fighting against their own need for control, and you're the one making it happen. You're the force that's causing them to detox, and they're not ready for the pain. They're not prepared to face the reality that they are nothing without that power over you. And the real kicker? You're not coming back to feed their addiction. You've seen the truth, and now you're free. Every move they make to reel you in is just another attempt to fill that void. But it's never going to work. They'll spiral further, getting lost in their own desperation. And through it all, you stand strong, knowing you've broken free from their grip. They may try again, but their addiction will never hold you. They can't control you anymore, and that's something they'll never be able to accept. Number 11. You became their lesson, not their victim. They thought you'd break, but instead, you became the truth they can't escape. Chosen ones, here's the cold reality they can't face. When they tried to break you, to wear you down, twist your mind, and make you beg for their validation, they underestimated your strength. They thought they had the upper hand, that they could manipulate you until you were a shadow of yourself, crumbling under their control. But what they didn't see coming was that you wouldn't just survive their onslaught, you'd rise above it. You didn't just endure their mind games, you flourished, you thrived, and that's their nightmare. You are no longer just another chapter in their twisted little story. You are a living, breathing lesson, and it's one they can't escape. Every time they see you, every time they try to pull the same tricks, they're reminded of how badly they failed. You are living proof that their manipulation isn't infallible. You are the living contradiction to everything they thought they knew about control. They believed they were invincible, that they could dominate and bend you to their will, but you shattered that illusion. Now they can't ignore you. You became the mirror reflecting their weaknesses, their lies, and their failure. They wanted to shape you into someone they could control, someone they could break down and leave in their wake. But they didn't get that. Instead, they have to face the truth that their power was never real. Their so-called strength was just smoke and mirrors, fragile, built on nothing but an ego that couldn't take the slightest crack. You didn't bow to them. You didn't cower in fear. Instead, you stood tall. And that's what they can't handle. You are the mirror showing them their own flaws. You are the living evidence of how toxic they've become, how trapped in their own patterns of manipulation they really are. You didn't just survive their attempts to break you, you became something they never saw coming. And now, every time they look at you, they see their own failure staring back at them. They can't shake the fact that they couldn't control you. You didn't fold, you didn't crumble, you didn't beg for their mercy. You became everything they fear, a lesson they can never unlearn. Now, they're at a crossroads. It's a choice for them, evolve or self-destruct. They have to confront the truth about their actions, admit their flaws, and genuinely try to change. But let's be honest, most won't. Their ego is too fragile, and the idea of admitting they were wrong is too much to handle. Instead, they'll continue to spiral. They'll lash out, try to tear others down, and keep playing their manipulative games. But deep down, they know something they can't deny. They'll never have control over you again. You weren't their victim. You were their lesson, and lessons can't be erased. So, while they're stuck in their own toxic cycle, spinning and lashing out, remember this. You've already won. The game they thought they were playing, it's over. You are not a casualty of their manipulations. You are their reckoning. And no matter how hard they try to hold on to their old ways, they can't take that from you. Keep shining, chosen ones. You've shown them what true strength looks like, and they'll never forget it. Now, as you stand tall in your truth, know that nothing can break the power of your freedom. You've broken free from their control, and with that, you've taken back your life. The path ahead is yours to walk, free from manipulation and lies. Remember, your strength is unwavering and your future is yours to shape. If you felt the power of your liberation, like this video, hit subscribe and drop number 77 in the comments to let the universe know you're walking in your truth. Share this message with others and let's